You ever get that feeling that Wall Street has all the secrets and the rest of us are just on the outside looking in? Well, what if I told you that the single greatest advantage in investing isn't some fancy algorithm or an expensive trading desk? What if it's actually you and the knowledge you already have, just from doing your job and living your life?
Now look, that's not just some nice idea. That is a direct quote from the legendary investor Peter Lynch. His whole point was that your everyday expertise gives you this massive edge. You see trends happening at your local mall, or you notice a new piece of software at work, or even something in your own kitchen, long before it ever shows up on some professional trader's screen. Okay, so that sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually use it? How do we take this amazing philosophy and apply it to a company that, when you first look at it, just seems completely impenetrable? Well, let's roll up our sleeves and actually put it to the test. All right, so for our little experiment, we're going to pick something most of us have probably never, ever heard of. It's an Indonesian company called PT Lautan Luas Tbk, and our goal here is super simple. Can we use Peter Lynch's framework to figure this business out in just a few minutes? And this is what we're up against, a dense, jargon-filled annual report. This is the exact kind of document that makes most people's eyes just glaze right over. It's intimidating, but here's the key. We're not going to read it cover to cover. Nope. We're just going to go on a little treasure hunt for a few key clues. Okay, so let's dive in. First question, and it's the most important one. What on earth do they actually do? The report says they're a dominant player in the distribution and manufacturing of basic and specialty chemicals. Okay, forget that. Here's what it actually means. They make the essential ingredients for stuff you use every single day. Things like your laundry detergent, the paper you write on, your shampoo, and even the battery inside your car. And that right there, that brings us to the first and honestly the most important step in the entire Peter Lynch method. Before you look at a single number, a single chart, you have to be able to explain, in plain, simple language, what the business does. You got to know the story. And check this out. This slide perfectly illustrates the power of this idea. The Wall Street view is complicated, it's intimidating, but the Main Street view, our view, is incredibly simple. They make and sell essential ingredients for everyday products. That's it. It's a business we can actually understand, and that right there is our edge. You know what the best part is? The company literally tells us its own story. It's right here in the report. They lay out their own targets for the future. They're telling us they expect to grow revenues by 8 to 10%. They're aiming for solid profit margins, and they plan on keeping their debt nice and stable. The story they're telling us is one of steady, predictable growth. So, we've got the story down, but a good story is just the starting point. The next step is to quickly check if the numbers actually back it up. We need to see if management is putting their money where their mouth is. And don't worry, you absolutely do not need a finance degree for this part, just a little common sense. And for Lynch, one of the biggest, most powerful signals was something called insider buying. I mean, think about it. Who knows a company's real prospects better than the people who are running it day in and day out? If they are taking their own hard-earned cash and buying shares, well, that's a massive vote of confidence. So, are the insiders at our company, Lautan Lewis, buying? Oh yeah, you bet they are. The top executives own millions and millions of shares personally. They have serious skin in the game, which means their financial success is directly tied to the company's success. That is a huge green flag. Another thing Lynch always looked at was the balance sheet, especially the debt. The debt-to-equity ratio is just a really simple way to check on this. All it does is compare what a company owes to what it owns. You see, a company with a mountain of debt can get into big trouble fast, but one with a strong balance sheet can pretty much weather any storm. And just like we saw in their own projections, Lautan Lewis is targeting a stable ratio of around 0.75. That's a very reasonable, very healthy level of debt. It suggests the company is financially sound, it's not overextended. So that's another checkmark in the good column. Now this is where it gets really fun. Peter Lynch knew that a company's real value isn't always about its quarterly earnings. Sometimes, the real gold is in the assets it owns, valuable stuff that Wall Street might have completely missed. Lynch called these asset plays, and he loved them. It was like going on a treasure hunt for hidden value. And what do you know, buried deep in their annual report, we find a potential hidden asset. Lautan Lewis was specially appointed by the Indonesian government to manage a key logistics center, all because of their great track record. This is a huge competitive advantage, right? It's like a government-endorsed seal of approval that you're not going to see on a typical spreadsheet. So let's just pause for a second and think about what we just did. We took a company we knew absolutely nothing about, from a country many of us have never even been to, and by using just a few simple common-sense principles, we figured out its story. The big takeaway here is that this framework makes you an analyst.
So here it is. This is your repeatable checklist. Number 1, find your edge. Start with what you know. Number 2, tell the story. Can you explain what the company does in a simple sentence? 3, check the vitals. Are the insiders buying? Is the debt low? And finally, number 4, try to uncover that hidden value. Is there something special that the professionals might have missed?
We started this whole thing with one big idea, that your knowledge is your advantage. From the coffee you drink every morning to the software you use at work, you are literally surrounded by potential investments that you understand better than almost anyone on Wall Street. So the only question left is, what great company is hiding in plain sight for you?